911 operator's voice crackled through the static, but the girl's reply was a whisper of pure terror. Her words weren't just a report. They were a confession breathed into the void, the voice of someone who had seen the unseeable. The line filled with the wet, ragged sound of her trying not to sob, the scent of damp earth and old copper seeming to leak from the speakers. Then, a new sound emerged, not from the girl, but from the space around her. A slow, deliberate scrape, like metal dragging across concrete. The operator's questions became frantic, but the girl's breath hitched, frozen. The air in her hiding place had grown thick and stale, tasting of dust and decay. What happened in the next 45 seconds of that call wasn't recorded by the county system. The tape simply goes dead, but the first responding officer would later swear he heard something else on the original line, a low, wet gurgle that wasn't human, followed by 3 soft taps. This is the story of the Hollow Creek 911 call, the victim who wasn't supposed to be there, and the thing that answered. Operator. Who killed who, sweetheart? Where are you right now? Girl. It's my sister. Her voice, a fragile whisper, was laced with a metallic scent of fear. Girl. He killed my sister. It was my own father. That single 911 call became the damning evidence that convicted a man for his daughter's murder. It was the key that shattered a family and locked the case shut. But what if I told you that call was a lie and the real killer was listening the entire time? Welcome to Oakridge, Ohio. Picture perfect, but beneath that postcard facade, the air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and something metallic. Quiet lawns, manicured to perfection, and schools with spotless reputations. This was the carefully constructed world of the Miller family. John Miller, the respected high school chemistry teacher with steady hands, and Linda, his wife, a dental hygienist who knew the scent of fear masked by me, and their 2 daughters. Sarah, the vibrant, popular 18-year-old just weeks from graduating, and her 16-year-old sister, Chloe, the quiet one. By all accounts, Sarah was the golden child. Chloe was the artistic, introverted captain of the debate team, bound for State University. She existed in the perpetual, luminous shadow of her accomplished older sister. To the outside world, the family portrait was one of perfect, suburban contentment. But beneath that polished veneer, the air in their home held a faint, metallic scent, like old pennies and damp earth. Every family conceals its fault lines beneath a polished surface. As a friend's interview reveals, John was rigid in his expectations, especially with his daughters. The air in their home often carried the metallic scent of unspoken tension. His standards weren't just high, they were walls that confined. Sarah always met them. Chloe, not so much. There was tension. It hung thick in the stale air. The faint scent of damp earth and ozone clung to the quiet. An unspoken dread settled between them, cold and absolute. The weeks that followed were a string of strange, silent meals. Then, on November 12th, the fragile peace shattered. Sarah never returned from her late-night study session at the university library. With Linda away at a conference, a frantic John was left to file the missing persons report alone. At 3 a.m., a state trooper discovered Sarah's abandoned vehicle at a remote scenic overlook outside town. Sarah was found in the trunk. The town descended into a state of collective shock. The air itself seemed to thicken with a palpable, oppressive dread. The investigation narrowed to John Miller within hours. He was the last person to see Sarah alive. Neighbors reported a violent argument that night, John's voice booming, Sarah's sharp replies cutting through the darkness. Police later discovered a wrench in his garage, its cold metal bearing traces of evidence. The evidence was circumstantial, but the pressure mounted relentlessly. John insisted he was innocent, but grief and suspicion were crushing him. Then, 1 week after the murder, the break came. A 911 call. The call came from Chloe, placed from the Miller family landline. Her voice, when she reached the operator, was fractured by raw terror. She confessed to hearing the violent struggle that night, and she had seen her father methodically wiping a heavy wrench clean. In a moment of sheer panic, he confessed to Chloe, his voice cracking as he whispered that Sarah wouldn't listen anymore. The confession was the final, damning piece of evidence. John Miller was arrested that same day, and the subsequent trial became a national media spectacle. At the heart of the frenzy was the grieving younger sister, who found the courage to testify against her own father. A second-degree murder conviction brought a 25 years to life sentence. Linda filed for divorce, severing the final tie. Chloe became a ghost in her own town, a phantom of whispered tragedy. Officially, the case was closed, the file sealed with dust and finality. But the story doesn't end with a cell door slamming shut. Fast forward 4 years. Chloe, now 20, sits in therapy, haunted by what she witnessed. The air in the room feels thick, charged with a memory she can't escape. She flinches at phantom sounds, a wet, sticky rustle from the corner of her mind. Her therapist's gentle questions hang in the quiet, but Chloe's world is filled with the scent of damp earth and cold, coppery iron. Every session is a return to that place. The dread is a physical weight, a deep, cold stone in her chest that never warms. She moved to a new city, trying to outrun her past, but guilt is a poison, and it was consuming her from within. It gnawed at her sanity, a constant, corrosive presence she couldn't escape. In the quiet of the office, the air felt thick and stale, smelling faintly of old paper and antiseptic. The therapist's voice cut through the stillness, a low, steady sound. "You carry this weight, Chloe." The therapist leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "What is it you're not forgiving yourself for?" Chloe's composure shattered. A ragged sob escaped her lips as she confessed the truth she'd buried for years. Her admission triggered a legal obligation. Her therapist now had to reach for the phone. Chloe hadn't merely lied under oath. She had fabricated the entire 911 call, every scream, every plea for help, from nothing but her own guilt-stricken imagination. Chloe, through tears, insisted she was wearing headphones that night, claiming she never heard a confession and saw nothing. She just repeated what everyone already believed, her voice trembling with each word. But why would she do that? The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Was it fear, or was there something more sinister guiding her words? Why would anyone frame their own father? The police, now staring down a massive wrongful conviction case, have reopened the investigation, and they've turned their focus to Chloe. The pressure they're applying is immense, unrelenting. The air in the room grew thick with the scent of stale coffee and cold sweat. Every question was a hammer blow, each silence a deeper, more terrifying void. The truth that emerged was more horrifying than the lie. Chloe confessed that on the night of the murder, she did witness something. She saw Sarah's boyfriend, Mike, a 19-year-old college freshman known for his jealous streak, speeding away from their street just after the estimated time of death. Days before the tragedy, Chloe had discovered a love letter from Sarah to Mike in the trash, in which Sarah wrote she was ending things, calling him too possessive. But here comes the devastating twist, one that would unravel everything we thought we knew about this case. Chloe had been secretly in love with Mike for years, a quiet obsession that twisted her teenage logic. In her mind, if Sarah disappeared and her strict father was in prison, she'd finally be free. Then Mike would see her. She was certain of it. But she didn't pull the trigger, but she'd crafted the perfect frame to shield the boy she loved and erase the two towering obstacles in her life, her flawless sister and her domineering father. That frantic 911 call wasn't a moment of panic. It was a cold, calculated script delivered with chilling precision. Now, armed with Chloe's new testimony, the police finally have a thread to pull. They begin their hunt for Mike, the air in the precinct growing thick with the scent of old paper and impending revelation. Confronted by the evidence, cell tower pings placing him at the overlook. A friend's account of his rage over the breakup. Mike broke, he confessed. Sarah had ended things at the library. He followed her. Their final argument unfolded at the overlook, the air thick with ozone and the distant scent of pine. In a violent rage, he struck her down. He got away with it because Chloe offered him the perfect fall guy. John Miller was exonerated after 4 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He is a free man, yet his existence lies in ruins. His wife has vanished, leaving only the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the stale air. One daughter is dead, her memory a cold, sharp stone in his chest. The other is the architect of his waking nightmare. Chloe faced charges of perjury, obstruction of justice, and filing a false report. She accepted a plea deal to avoid trial, but no prison sentence could compare to the cage her mind had become. Her guilt was a constant, suffocating presence. Every day, she was confined by the memory of her lie, a truth that clung to her like damp, cold cloth. The real punishment wasn't behind bars. It was the life sentence she served in the prison of her own conscience. She sacrificed her father to shield her sister's murderer, all for a phantom romance that was never real. The air in the room felt thick and stagnant, carrying the faint metallic tang of old grief. So I'll leave you with this. That 911 call we played at the start, the one that sounded so convincingly like a terrified daughter? Now listen again. Not to the tremor in her voice, but to the hollow quiet that swallows the space behind it. No mother's weeping echoes through the halls. No father's desperate shouts rise from the floor below. The air hangs thick with the scent of stale dust and something faintly metallic, like old copper. It's the absence of sound that tightens the chest, a void where life should be screaming. The house held only dead air and a girl on the phone, methodically constructing a cage for her father while her sister's true killer remained at large. The static 911 call plays once more, now sounding hollow, distant, and unnervingly cold. Girl, her voice a flat, chilling monotone. "It's my sister." "He killed my sister." Her final words drop like stones into the void. It's my dad." Sometimes, the most dangerous call isn't the one pleading for help. It's the one that offers a story everyone is already desperate to believe. A low, electrical hum vibrated through the room, carrying the faint scent of ozone and old paper. That whisper of static wasn't just empty noise. It was an invitation, and the air grew thick with the weight of it.